สวัสดีค่ะ As an art professional of 12 years, Chris Bromby has extensive experience in video game creation and special effects animation. He shares with us examples of his works and gives advice to those who want to succeed in these two fields.
Sawadee Kap. Thank you for having me. Good morning. My name is Chris Bromby. I'm an artist, animator, and art director currently in Orlando, Florida. Today I'm going to present some of the work that I've done over the years, how I got into animation, and then some of the projects that I'm working on today as an art director at InSpace. Well, hopefully today I'll be able to show you some of my work, how I got into games that'll hopefully inspire you or teach you how to get into animation. So what I'd like to start with is where I got my education. I started at the University of Central Florida in Orlando. I chose Central Florida because I was from Florida, and Walt Disney Feature Animation had a studio in Orlando, Florida. So I chose to go to university there to get my Bachelor's of Fine Art degree. While I was in school, I worked on my portfolio to eventually submit to Disney Animation. And these are some of the sketches that I did while I was in school. These type of loose cafe sketches are what animators like to see in an animation portfolio. I had multiple pages of drawings, as well as like figure drawings. Let's see here. In 2000, I put together my portfolio, my final semester of my Bachelor of Fine Art program, and I submitted to Disney Feature Animation in Florida. The first time I submitted for a character animator position, and there was only 5 available positions, and I was number 6, so I didn't make it. So I got my portfolio back together, and this was my final semester, and I was told there was 2 other positions open for an effects animator position. So I refactored my portfolio, did some more sketches while I was in school, and submitted my portfolio one more time, and I was accepted into Disney as an effects animator in the spring of 2000, before I even graduated school. So at that point I was really excited. I had my dream job before I even got my degree. These are some of the films that I worked on while I was at Disney. My first film was Lilo and Stitch. Like I said, I was a special effects animator. After Lilo and Stitch, we worked on a small project called The Little Match Girl. This was a short film that was released with the Little Mermaid Special Edition DVD. Then I also worked on Pocahontas, which was a special edition. A lot of times Disney will re-add sequences to films. They've done it with Pocahontas and Beauty and the Beast. So I was able to work on Pocahontas, even though I didn't work on the full feature. I worked on a few scenes in the DVD re-release. My last film at Disney that was released was Brother Bear, and that was released in 2004, early 2004. The next slides I'm going to show you are some of the animation tests that I did when I was at Disney in training. So most artists, when they're hired at Disney, enter like a training program that where Disney animators teach you the principles of Disney animation. So the program was about 3 months long, and after that we became production artists, production animators. So the first test that we did in the Disney training was the bouncing ball. This taught us the basic principles of Disney animation, which in this test there's squash and stretch, animation timing, and they wanted us as Disney animators to infuse personality into an inanimate object, which is this ball. This is one of the things that I did. This is the basic walk test. And again, this is just teaching us basic timing, how to cycle drawings. At this point, we were learning how to flip paper, since we were traditional animators. So after our basic walk test, we went on to doing another test where we learned more about secondary animation and weight of a character. So the goal was to take this big, heavy character that I created here and make him walk as well. At the end of Brother Bear, the next feature that we'd be working on was a hybrid, a 2D and 3D picture that was called My Peoples. The movie was never released. It was eventually canceled, but in preparation for that film, all the traditional artists, myself included, went back into 3D training. So what they wanted us to do is learn how to translate our 2D animation skills into a 3D world. And so these are some of the basic tests that we did. We again went back to the basics to learn more complex skills. And this is a 3D ball bounce test that I did, which is all keyframed animation. There's no physics simulations here. It's another very simple test just to teach basic rules. And since the test or the movie that we'd be working on was a combination of 2D and 3D, one of the other things we had to do as an effects animator was match complex 3D models in animation to 2D hand-drawn artwork. So in this example, we used animation from Mulan, and my role in this scene was to animate this teacup, which was a 3D model, correctly with the same timing of the 2D character, so that it believably matched those 2D drawings. It's another very simple test, but this was all preparation for us learning the basics of how to make a film. After I got out of my traditional animation training at Disney, it was a 3-month period, and then I was basically rolled into production, where I became a production animator on Lilo and Stitch. These following slides are examples of some of the stuff that I would do as an effects animator. An effects animator is basically an animator who animates everything in the film that is not a character. So these would be elements like water, fire, smoke, even shadows on characters and tones. Some of the smaller stuff that isn't as glamorous as like a character. But as an effects animator, it's very cool because generally a character animator for Disney will only ever work on one character. But as an effects animator, it allowed me to work on almost every scene in the film at some point, because there is an effects element involved, like whether it be a shadow or a splash or just very basic elements of the scene that would need to be animated. And this is an example of how you would see that, or see water applied. So that scene was a very large scene. It was almost all effects besides the characters on the surfboard. So a scene like this, the effect is almost as important as the characters in the scene themselves. Generally, when a scene like this was issued, most scenes in the film are led by character animation. In this scene, the effects is the leading elements, because the character has to go with the water. So what the workflow on that scene like this would be: the character or the effects animators issued the scene, they rough out kind of the way the water flows, and then that goes back to the character animator to animate the characters on the surfboard, and then it comes back again to effects, where we tighten down the scene and we animate like this huge wave that's coming over. In this example, you see fire from Mulan. One of the tests I had to do when I first rolled into the effects department was emulate the style of one of the other films with that visual effect. So the fire in Mulan was very ornate, like Chinese art. So I had to believably create fire that emulated that style. In Lilo and Stitch, the fire was very curvy. This is another scene that I worked on.